territory. There was a lord there, I guess, and he had a military of his own. To keep him in line with the king would deed him a certain territory. And so we came across one. My wife and I were over there for a month, and we spent 2 weeks in Ireland and 2 weeks in Scotland. And in Ireland, there was one castle that, it was probably 80,000 square foot, and had 13,000 acres with it that were all given to this
Now
lord.
the castle itself, was it functional or functioning?
It was perfectly functional.
It was. People living there actually, or
No,
not?
the
Okay.
state owned it now. But in 1600, when the king deeded this to him, he also deeded him a right to tax all the sales of wine in that part of Ireland. And so for 400 years, that survived. And then one of the heirs started gambling with the king and the queen of England and the princes and whoever. And in one hand of cards, lost the wine franchise.
Oh,
And,
that was expensive loss.
And it was less than 70 years before they abandoned the castle because they started.
They
leaking,
couldn't.
you know,
They didn't have the
couldn't-
revenue to keep it going.
couldn't keep it
Absolutely.
going.
So who's keeping those things? Who's keeping those properties now? Those estates
Well,
again.
Glenn,
And they have
Glen
to like
Tanner's
they earn
private.
most
Glen
of their money
Tanner's
through.
private,
They earn their money through.
but Mar
some of
Lodge
this.
is by the Scottish National Trust now, because I think you couldn't pay the taxes on it if it wasn't at the national.
What
They
sort
are
of
very
accommodations
profitable.
do you have when you come to these places? Because you're fairly remote, big areas. Do you actually have? Is there any sort of? Are you staying like in an old castle, or they have to have some kind of bed and
Oh, we
breakfast
stayed
or
in a
inn?
cheap little cottage there.
So the accommodations, yeah, I'm sure.
Actually,
Okay, I can see by the smile. There wasn't very
the place we
rough in
stayed
it.
was the lodge for the estate
Okay.
originally.
Oh yeah.
So
how
the
historic,
reason we
too.
stayed there because it was one of the few that had a mud room, a drying room that you could put your wet clothes in overnight.
That's perfect.
Apparently, Dr. Rebel
Mhm.
said this was the best one because the rest of them didn't have a place to dry.
Right, you'd have to just have those muddy, wet clothes, sitting in some place that you'd have to put them
No,
on
you-
the next
yeah,
day.
you want them dry.
You want to get them dried out. What did this Dr. Robel do again?
That's the
Oh,
castle.
oh wow, that's where you stayed?
No,
Oh,
this is
oh,
the one
that's
that
the
was.
castle. I
This is
think
the one that
another.
was lost in a hand of cards.
Oh my gosh. And it's still set up like that with all this
Mm-hmm.
priceless artwork, it looks like, just
It
like
all
you
fell
made.
down. In 70 years, the roof started leaking, the family abandoned it, and it all fell down. The state took it over.
Mm.
They deeded it back to the state because they couldn't maintain it. The
So
state
this,
took
is
it
this
over
an
and
old
rebuilt it.
picture, or
No.
this is currently?
They have been going all
They
over the
rebuilt it?
world. They had a 2-week auction,
Oh.
and they've been going all over the world and buying everything back.
Oh my word.
So they haven't got it all yet.
Yeah, that's so not only are you going over there, for the big hunt, you've got a lot of history, you get to see the royal family.
the
I
funny
mean, like you said, people can, put out that kind of money on a trip, anywhere overseas, but this has
people
got a
take a
lot to
cruise.
it.
People take a cruise. and
Cruises,
this
trips
is
to Europe.
funny thing was the first night.
Yeah, we're
at the-
still
at
on
the-
video, Lawrence, so
Oh, we're
this
still
will play
on
out.
video. Okay, well the
But you
first.
can tell me your story. I just wanted to give you a warning.
the first night, the lady would bring our food, say, what would you like? And you'd have a menu and cooking just for our group. And Ward said, I'd like to have venison. And she says, oh no, she says, our cook won't cook that.
Oh,
That's the larder where all the animals are taken in.
whoa, wow.
So those were just this season.
And do they sell those? That's like the,
These are
Oh,
coming back to
coming
what
back
do
to
they
States.
call those skulls where they bleach them out and all
European
there's a real
now.
process to that, isn't
There's
there?
where we
They
stayed.
have to let the flesh fall off and
That's
all
just
that.
a little,
That's
little
the
place.
manor we
that-
stayed in.
Oh my gosh, how picturesque is that? I'm gonna have to learn how to be a big game hunter.
But anyway,
Don't do it in ugly places.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
Anyway, there's the dining hall where we ate.
I got a new favorite vacation here.
And
But you guys said I should come with you, and I'm like, yeah, right. Have the wives come, and they're the ones packing.
No,
But you said
not you.
no,
You can
no. Yeah.
But anyway, the lady.
Yeah, Sarah Palin, she can field dress a
No,
caribou.
sure.
I was pretty impressed when I heard that, actually, because
There's
those are
a
big
real
animals,
animal.
too. Oh, my word. Well, I'll tell you what, my husband's not a hunter, but he's a photographer, so he would definitely be on board with this.
My guide was
Mhm.
James was very upset because
Mhm.
the next week he had somebody coming that was only going to have a camera.
I'll show you that.
Whoa, what is that?
That's the.
Oh, those are antlers?
Antlers
that's
from
the
hundreds
hall.
of years
It's like the
back.
Hall of Antlers?
That's
It's
a
like
gilly
whole
hall. That's
thing.
where the
That's where they have the celebrations.
celebration.
So the
is.
gillies have like almost an organization of
No,
their
no,
own?
no, no, no.
or-
Every estate has one
Oh,
of these.
they just call it a gilly hall. But the
Yeah.
gilly are those packers you talked
Yeah.
about that have to be certified or
But
licensed.
this is really for weddings and on the estate.
Uh-huh.
And so in all of them, everyone I saw, they do this with the ceiling. I think this had,
Oh,
they told us,
okay.
Lawrence, was it 3,600 amps?
Something
I was gonna
like
say how
that.
many
And-
thousands?
And a lot of these special ones
Unbelievable.
around here have a brass plate under them saying what lord shot them or.
Well, here's what they actually are. Yeah, that may be true.
It's like the
but
real
it
trophy
also-
ones.
No, they're all the same animal. It's not the same hide, but all of these around the room are a way of aging the animals. So
Mhm.
they get the antlers
Oh,
and they watch an animal, they get the antlers off of it when
Uh-huh.
it's young, the next first, second, third, fourth, till about the 14th year. And so that it shows that about 8 or 10 years, that's when it's the biggest, and then it starts decreasing in size as it gets into its old age.
yeah.
But they
Yeah.
do have, they
That's
do
maybe a
have,
little better one.
yeah,
Oh, that's great.
They do
Yeah,
have,
but a visual
uh,
representation of the animals and how they look at different ages, their life cycle. So interesting.
but
Now,
anyway,
do you have a restriction on how many you can shoot?
No.
no, they
So when you
have a limit.
pay for your rifle or whatever, your gun.
Actually, we're doing
you
their
can-
work because the
Exactly,
ones
because
that
I'm
we,
thinking, I know they're saying, okay, that injured one needs to be culled out, but I'm like, I only get to
the
fill
the
4
ones
tickets
that we
or
didn't
whatever. I don't
harvest,
want-
they
I
told
want a
me
better
that,
one than that.
they told me we can get 2 today. He says we've got 1 week of
Okay.
stag hunting. And we have 16 more to kill.
Mhm. Okay, so they
And-
have their limits.
And so, well, they know how many they wanna cull.
Or, yeah.
And so they were gonna go out this winter when it's
Mm-hmm.
cold and dark with flashlights and pick out the ones they wanna harvest to get down to that number, cause they don't wanna have too many.
Well,
So,
the
so
Glenmore,
is it
the
also then
state-
that the stalker is also then gonna say on, let's say they're carrying your gun, they go, okay, here's your gun back, that's the one?
Yeah, that's the
Okay,
one.
so you're not getting as a sportsman to really pick out the one, but it's still quite a
No,
thrill.
no, that's your job is to pick the biggest one, not,
Yeah, right.
you're helping clean out.
Right.
One another estate we toured.
Amazing.
They are amazing. It
Mm.
really is.
Paul, we can keep running because there's a lot of sportsmen gonna come and watch this video. Oh, look at that countryside. Oh my gosh.
Incredible.
Right. So you're not officially like.
This is the one that the guy lost in the hand of car.
Oh, what? He lost the whole castle?
He lost the whole estate.
He lost the whole
The whole estate.
estate?
Well, he lost the wine franchise, and when he
Yeah.
couldn't support
Oh,
the
well, then
estate,
yeah,
then he
of course,
lost
then
the
he
whole
lost
thing.
everything.
And so the
Gee.
roof fell in on the whole thing eventually.
So much for going to Gamblers Anonymous,
Yeah.
you know, he went a little too late.
Yeah, it always happens,
Poor
you have one of
guy.
those in the family, that,
Yeah.
Oh, these are.
Oh, are these out, these are out in the, oh yeah, now that's not a very big herd, there's only about 15
Well, that was-
animals there.
Yeah.
Do they travel more in smaller ones versus that 300 to 500 you saw?
Oh, yeah, that 300 to 500
That
was
was
real.
so
Did you even
unique.
see anything?
I
like
didn't
that?
even see it,
Yeah,
no.
you would have
No.
seen more like this.
Now, in the
When you're-
wintertime,
when
when-
you're bellying up to these, that you're
Yeah.
gonna see that.
Yeah, when the wintertime, when the snow up in the hills is 20 foot deep,
Mhm.
they're all squeezed together down in the forest, and that's when they really do the damage.
They were just out eating in the evening.
Just like the here, you know.
Well, guys, we could probably talk a whole lot more, but I've got the another interview coming up here in about a half hour. So, wow. Ward, send me an email with some of this interesting stuff, and if you want, to put your contact information on there, you're going to get a lot of people. A lot of people follow the blogs, and certainly then also follow we'll watch this video on the website, which is really fun. You'll have fun watching it.
This estate.
Is that the same one, another
No,
picture?
This is a different one.
What's,
The story on this was,
what square footage are these things? Do you know?
this one was 40,000.
40,000. Oh, God.
This estate was,
Now, do you have a daughter that's going to want to get married over here?
my daughters are married.
Your it's like, yeah,
Sorry,
save
guys.
Dad a few dollars, huh?
Yeah.
Go over there and get married. Wow.
No,
What a fairy
that
tale.
estate, they're interesting, such interesting stories on all of them.
Mhm,
Have you ever been
mhm.
here?
Not to this area.
Well, this, that particular one, in 1800s, a man was a merchant, bought cotton from the United States, shipped it over to Europe, made cloth out of it, and sold it all over the world, made a fortune. Well, his son inherited it, and so his son liked to hang around with the aristocrats, and so he bought this place called the Abbey, and it's on about 15,000 acres, and it's got a lake that's 3 miles long and a mile wide, and it's just sheer cliffs coming right down to it. You couldn't tell from that picture, but the castle is built right on the lake. I mean, you could just fall out of the castle into the lake.
Oh my gosh.
And he built it. They only lived there 3 months a year, and he built it. His wife was from the States, and so they traveled the rest of the time, and they were in Egypt. And she got dysentery and died in 15 days after having 9 children, and she was 45 years old. And so, and he was evidently madly in love with her, just like you are.
Yeah.
And you do this too. The guy had her embalmed and shipped her back from Egypt to England and built a church that is reminiscent of Westminster Abbey.
Oh my goodness.
And buried her right on the grounds of his little mausoleum that he built next to the church.
Exactly.
And then lived there off and on until he died, and then the family sold it. Was bought by an American family. Their daughter married another European, and so they bought it for their daughter as a wedding gift.
I was either born into the wrong family or into in the wrong area of the country. I mean, people are even like, "You live in Kansas," you know, which we think there's a lot of beauty here in our state for sure, but you know, not quite like that. So, well, thank you so much, gentlemen.